Hey everyone, GPT-4o, the Omni version, flipped something on its head that's going to completely change the quality of pages we produce forever. And this is in line with where Google seems to be going now. So I want to make this point. You may have noticed that any kind of topics that have really become overburdened, and especially if they're objective answers, Google's providing a generative AI version of an answer for these things. So topics that are too simple, like what is a rake, what is a trowel, do not need to be written by us anymore. There's already been too much content besides. It's objective. AI knows how to answer objective questions. But what's subjective is to ask a question like, what's the best garden hose? Well, what does that mean? The cheapest, the one that's collapsible, the one that's longest, the one that puts up best with the heat. You know, completely different things there. So in the old days, we used to tell GPT, hey, write a really good page about this topic, right? First, we'd have it write about objective topics. Don't do that so much anymore. You might open a page with an objective topic just to kick it off, but certainly get into subjective topics pretty quickly. That way, when somebody does the objective search on Google and they get the answer right there in generative AI, they can scroll down to the little drop-down questions and sections, and they can continue reading more contents, and that can bring up our websites because we have sections about how to answer those things. See, they're not things that AI can answer directly because you need more context. You need more human context. So having said that, here's what's changed, and this is a big deal. Let's say I want to write a page about what's the best garden hose. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to tell GPT to look up garden hoses, best garden hoses, as a keyword, and find authoritative answers by going through like the top 10 SERPs and choosing some articles that really seem to answer the question well. And then now that it's armed with that research, write a web page that explains all of this and have the links out to those different places. What's the difference? Now GPT knows which hoses to talk about. It's not just inventing a topic. It's actually using the research to create the report, so to speak. The college report, the way we were always taught to do, right? Write a report, it's due Friday, and cite your sources, right? And so you need to have your sources to justify your point. Well, Google wants to see that you do that so that humans can see that you're justifying your point, and they can read more if they want by going in different directions. But what's this mean for us? That means that we flip the direction. Instead of first writing content, then creating backlinks, then going out and getting external authority sites to connect to our keywords in the paragraphs, the best long-term result for Google is the stuff that AI just can't deal with anytime soon, and that's to answer subjective questions. So go the other way around. Google will notice if your external authority links don't jive with your content, if there's very little relationship between what you wrote and where you're pointing. Somebody else can outdo that. The way to outdo it is just reverse the sequence. First, get your keywords. Second, look up external authority sites for those keywords. Third, compose your report or page with that research in mind so that you can link out to those things along the way through. Now your web page can rank higher in Google because it's about the topic and it justifies itself with external authority links. And here's the biggest thing we've noticed. In the old days, Google always said, well, if it seems like a lot of pages are good answers for the topic, how's Google supposed to choose which are the top 10? Say there are 11 perfectly competitive results. Google would say, okay, we've got to resort to the popularity contest. Who likes which of these sites the most? That's changed. Now, Google's less interested in that because it's more capable of assessing the value of each web page on its own using AI. Even if it's subjective, Google can assess how well the page is structured and handled. So do you know what you do now? You create your pages to justify themselves better. Backlinks, sure, they still matter, but way less than justifying your content in many cases. And so if you do that, wonderful. it's less about the popularity contests and more about the quality of your content. And guess what? If you find niches, which you will all the time, it's everywhere, where guys have not adopted AI to start ranking on the front pages, especially with local services and stuff, then what? Then you can create a bunch of websites for these topics, and you can use this approach I'm telling you now on all those websites. First, do the research, then write a version of the page for each of the websites. And we can even ask it to change the angle a little on each of the websites so that it focuses on different aspects of the topic, so that all of these are quality, interesting, slightly different pages. Now what? And that's not hard to do. We can ask it to create slightly different variations of the keyword-based theme based on the research it's done, or to focus on the topics with a different priority list for whatever the reason is. Very simple rules to put in a GPT to get the results we need to paste into our page builder, right, our article generators, so that we can create those pages onto those websites and they do what we want. But now, when you're doing backlinking through quality websites, you've got quality websites and they can reference others of our own websites in the midst of all the references that they make. So we can do the external authority sites, the partner sites, the tiered upscaling, and so we can add backlinks to our sites from quality sources, okay? If that makes sense, then you're following me on this. This is a strategy twist that's not even more work. It's just going in a different direction. Don't write the content and then find the external authority sites. Find the external authority sites first, learn from that, and then write the content based on that and use that linking throughout, right, to create your citations. How's that for interesting? Biggest thing to keep in mind is hallucinated links. So when GPT is showing you links, make sure that they're real. Click on them. Make sure that they're real. Anything that's not real, obviously you can ask GPT for some more links. Otherwise, like in our case, I like to ask it for all the naked URLs so that I can take them and paste them back in and just ask GPT to look them up. And whichever ones it can't find, drop them and don't discuss them anymore. Or whichever ones are 404'd out, then drop them. Don't discuss them anymore. And what do we have left? And we can use those. And if we need more, we'll just ask it to look some more up. Does that make sense? So, yeah, the best of both worlds done right. And I think that's where we're going now as far as that's concerned, because Google can answer the objective questions, but no AI can answer the subjective questions. That's a human thing. The other part to it is when you want to rank, use real people, real places, real events, real locations, whatever it is, for the basis. Like if you want to rank in a given city for a service, name all the services that are in the city, or a bunch of them. Put them on a resources page somewhere. Have links to them. You know, make it obvious, right? If you're building a website that is promoting a certain chiropractor, use the guy's name and the clinic's name, or whatever it is, and link not just to the clinic. See if you can look the guy up on Google and find like his LinkedIn page, right? Create a link to that. Find where he got his degree, create a link to that, right? This kind of thing. Justify the guy, justify the center, justify the place, right? Why the place? To make sure that you're getting the center in the right city and you're not mixing and matching generic clinic names. That can happen. Having said that, this is the way for us to build quality pages, and that's really what Google wants to show. And for subjective things, we're always going to have that kind of elbow room, at least for the foreseeable future. So what we should be creating are pages that have that kind of focal point. Topics that are based on keyword concepts should point at authoritative sites. Aside from that, if we want to mention people and clinics, we should point at their sources as well, right? Any press releases in the news, point it out. That kind of thing for either the person or the clinic or whatever the office or whatever the business. And with that in mind, I want to point out a tool we just made. It's in pre-order mode, but the idea is if you can create web pages for a website that they need because all they have is like 5 or 6 pitch pages and they're hoping for free sales from the organic listings, what if you can make them 100 pages and you can do it at very little expense, extremely little expense, and you could sell them cheap and yet make such a huge turnover, and it doesn't take you long. So we created that tool to make it easy and accessible for you guys if you're interested. So if you go to website-installer.com and hit professional services, this thing is in pre-launch right now, the Web Pages Exporter tool, and you can get it, and it's cheaper than it will be when it gets released. It'll be released in about a week. Here's the point. It's already done. It already works. The only reason that we're not releasing it right now is some of the SEO items that we want you to be able to hit buttons to produce are run through from our remote tool through the system. But if you go into the admin panel itself, which is where you would go to create the pages, those buttons are not in there. So we're just simply creating the localized functions that we already have. We're just creating them inside the tool so that you're able to generate those SEO elements inside the tool. A bunch are in there now, but we still have a few more to add. We're trying to juggle it into place around some other things we need to do. But in about a week or so, it's going to be released. And when it does, the price goes up. So get it now. If you get it in pre-release, you're just saying, hey, I want in on that tool. So if you go for it now, it's cheap. Think about it this way. Even using GPT for the API, if you're creating web pages for a project for a guy's site and they're static, that can be as cheap as 5 cents per page. And yet you could sell those pages for $5 each. And anybody would be willing to buy a 100-page minimum order, $5 each, to have the topical content authority structured properly, niche topic structured properly, external authority website research done first, and then the pages are made with that so that you can do what? You can help any underdog who's not ranking on Google because they don't have enough authority built into their website. So your elbow grease, your time, your effort, and you're going to be able to make yourself an easy living on the side. We even are helping you out because we're giving you the GPT prompts that create all the stuff for you so that you don't need to think about how. You just follow our steps. And not only that, there are GPT prompts where we can say, look up some of the companies that are doing poorly and then just ask GPT to go research those websites. And one at a time, craft a different email for each of those resources, let them know what they're missing and how you can help, and suggest that they contact you back. Give an email. And when they do, you can keep using GPT to go back and forth on the discussion, and then you can charge them like half down, say $250 to create 100 websites, which will cost you $5 and your time. But again, use our prompt, so it's only going to take you like 2 hours. Then when you're all done and ready to send the pages to the guy, then you would charge the second $250 in order to hand the pages over to the guy, because then he can walk away, right? And there you have it. So you can make 100x ROI on projects like that and not even have to do any discussing of the project with anybody live. You can just leave it to GPT. Things have really gotten that far. And then with their live chat agents, it's going to get even cooler. The AI chat agents. Somebody could go and get a chat agent and put it on their site now to pre-qualify people and make offers to people and offer upsells to people and everything else right then and there in the chat bot, in the chat window. And take orders in the chat window. Send people to the right page to make the purchase. I mean, you could get the purchase and then look up what happened in the job and everything that was produced for you by your AI live chat agent, which is from chatforme.ai, right? As an example. I mean, that's the one that we made because we think it's awesome. Okay, I think you get the idea, so I just wanted to make sure you knew. And yeah, we'll keep talking about what's going on here as we unfold it. Okay.